Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar with Capital One. My name is Fern and I am part of the student success team at Target Jobs. And I'm really excited to be joined by some reps from Capital One who are going to be looking a bit more into their recruitment process, hearing from some of their grads and sharing their experience, and going into a bit more detail about who Capital One are and the kind of thing that they do as well. And just to note that we are having a competition for this webinar. The first aspect of the competition is that we are having a prize draw where you can win a £150 voucher by staying the duration of the webinar, whilst also kind of taking part, whether that is through messaging in the chat or asking a question. And then secondly, we also are offering a £150 voucher to the person who has the best question. In terms of asking these questions, if you can put them into the Q&A function, which should be at the top of your screen, and then one of our reps will go through and kind of answer the questions as they go, but also through a Q&A session as well. But for now, I'm going to pass over to Rashenda and she's going to kick things off.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Fern. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon. So like Fern mentioned, my name is Rashenda. I'm one of our talent acquisition partners here at Capital One, and I'll be sort of going through everything with you today. So like I said, this is who I am, and I am joined with two of our graduates on the call today that I'll let quickly introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a grad on the tech programme and I work in the Nottingham office.
Hi guys, my name's Nathan. I'm one of the strategy graduates and I'm based in our London office.
Perfect. So the plan for this afternoon is, first of all, we're going to go through a bit of information as to who Capital One are, because I realise some of you may not have heard of us, or you're not too familiar about what we do as a business. I'm then going to hand back over to Stephanie and Nathan to talk through what they do in their jobs and to give a few sort of hints and tips from their point of view. We'll then open it up to a bit of a Q&A if you have got any questions about Stephanie and Nathan's experience at Capital One and what it's like working as a graduate here. I'll then be walking through our early career opportunities if you were looking to apply for anything with us, and then also what the recruitment process is going to look like for those roles. And then finishing on another Q&A if you have got any questions about the recruitment process. So who are Capital One? So this is a question that I'm going to ask you guys. Could you put in the chat box what you know about Capital One, if that's anything at all or nothing at all? What do you think we do? What do you know about us? So I'll just give sort of a minute if you guys want to put anything in the chat box. Oh, a couple come through so far. Credit card company, banking app, credit cards. Maybe I should ask this question before I put this on the screen, but yeah, you're right. We are a credit card company. We are a global credit card company. That's also correct. So we are one of the UK's top 10 credit card providers, as you can obviously see on the screen. We were founded in 1996 and we're still led by our founder and current CEO, Rich Fairbank. We do have offices in Nottingham and in London, and we are currently working as a hybrid working policy, which does extend to our sort of interns, graduates and placement students as well. You will be able to benefit from working at home on a couple of days a week. We're a mission-led business. I will come on to what this means in a little bit more. But in essence, it means that everything that we do is to help our customers succeed with credit. And that does go into all the different roles, for example, our tech roles and our strategy roles as well. And we're also, as a business, committed to CSR, which is our corporate social responsibility agenda. And a few points for these are things like our financial and digital literacy programs, employability skills programs, volunteering, fundraising initiatives, and our partnership with National Numeracy. So one thing that we're going to want to know when you've applied to Capital One is why you've applied. And a lot of this is down to our values and how they align with your values as well. So we just wanted to call out what our values as a company are. And they're two things, so excellence and do the right thing. And then below are a few of the behaviours that go into these values. For example, things like teamwork is a big thing that you'll get to be a part of at Capital One. Ownership, so you'll be able to really sort of have accountability of what you're working on. and also sort of respect for our customers, but also each other as well. So these are some key things to sort of bear in mind when you're talking through why you'd want to apply at Capital One and knowing who we are as a business. And then I mentioned our mission, which is all about our customers. And our mission is to change banking for good. And there's a few different ways that we do this. So bringing ingenuity, simplicity, and humanity to banking, and then dare to dream, disrupt, deliver a better way. And even if you're working in a role where you think, how does this actually impact a customer? You may not be able to see sort of how you align with the mission. But everything that we do, we always do make sure that we're doing the right thing for our customers. If that's making like an update on our banking app, thinking how would that make better improvements for customers' experience with us, or if you're working in our strategy team, how can we make new sort of strategic products or decisions that will make our lives of customers better as well. And then I know a few of you in the chat did say American company, global credit card company, which is definitely right. But it's worth sort of looking at how we sit within that global company at Capital One, especially in the UK. So you can see Capital One along the top as the enterprise has got a lot of different streams. So things like auto finance, retail, so sort of like high street banks. And then in the UK, we sit within the international branch there under UK Card. This is always worth bearing in mind as when we talk through sort of why do you want to work for Capital One. If you've applied to Capital One UK, do try and make sure that any research you're doing is specific to Capital One UK. Because if you're talking through wanting to work within like the auto finance bit, it may not be actually what you've applied to. So just sort of worth bearing that in mind. But obviously we are part of such a big company, which also has its benefits as well. And then when we talk about that we're a credit card company, what does that mean? And when we talk about our customers, again, what does that mean? So these are our products and our customers. So we do have our customers who are new to credit or may have struggled with credit in the past. So we're able to lend to them that other lenders may not choose to. So then we can help improve their credit card scores and their journeys with credit. Also, credit savvy customers who may want things like seamless balance transfers. And then our retail focused vendors. So this is the bottom part where you see a few other credit cards, some names that may be a little bit more familiar to you, such as ASOS or the Post Office or Very, where we have partnered up with these retailers to then create credit cards that their customers can use, sort of not just with that retailer, but across all of their spending as well. But they may be able to get sort of like loyalty points or sort of discounts by using the credit card with that retailer. And then it's as much as I can talk through our culture and why we're a really good company to work for, but it is my job to do that. So why would you believe me? This is why. So we do like to brag about these bits a little bit because they are surveys that have been done on our current employees, interns, and placement students about what it's actually like to work for Capital One. So it's not just us as a company saying that we're a great place to work. It is people who actually work for Capital One that have said it. So the top one has been a survey of our previous interns and our placement students, and we were ranked number 12 in the best places, best student employers with the Rateman Placement Awards. And then the bottom bit is a globally recognised award, the Great Place to Work Award, where we are number 27 and the number 1 financial company in the East Midlands, which we're super proud of. As you can see, we have won that award for a few different streams such as development, wellbeing, and for women as well. So you can definitely believe me, but you should definitely believe the awards that we have won recently. And then one key thing that does go into making us a good company to work for is our BRGs, which are business resource groups, and they're employee networks that are made up by current employees to support other employees within the business as well, who may have shared identities or are part of the same community or have the same interests to sort of drive forward improvements within the business where they may have seen something that they think, oh, we should really celebrate this, or we should sort of make an update on this. So a few of these to sort of mention are our REACH one, which is race, equality and cultural heritage, where they celebrate different ethnicities and people's cultural backgrounds. For example, we've had a launch of Black Heritage Month this year, this month even, where we've gone through a few different events, celebrations to really sort of raise awareness within the whole company. Also, Mind Your Mind, where we have mental health first aiders. We do talks to raise awareness of current issues that people may be struggling with, and to be able to sort of work as a company to support those people as well. Yeah, there's loads that these BRGs do across the whole business. Cool. So that is definitely enough of me talking for now. So I'm going to hand over to our current grads to actually talk through what it's like working at Capital One. So we have got Stephanie first up.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. To start with, I'll give a brief overview of my background. So I studied at the University of Birmingham. I studied maths and I did a year in computer science. After my third year at uni, I joined Capital One on the internship program. And then after my fourth year, when I graduated, then I joined on the grad scheme. In my day job, I work in the services team, so I work on the back end of the Capital One app. I mainly program in Java day to day, but there's been some projects that I've worked on where I've programmed in some other languages, like TypeScript. I can talk to you through some of the software that we use. So I use IntelliJ mainly for my IDE. We use AWS for our cloud infrastructure. One of the big goals this year is to migrate all of our current on-prem code that's stored in our data center in the office to the cloud, so that we're all on AWS. We use GitHub for version management and reviewing each other's code. We use Gradle and Docker for running our services and doing testing. We also develop using agile methodologies, which is sort of small incremental changes. And we use a program called Jira to track this. One of the key projects that I've worked on that I'm really proud of is the ability for a customer to do a balance transfer in the app. If you don't know what a balance transfer is, some customers might have a credit card with another provider, and they might want to transfer that balance to a Capital One credit card. And they used to have to call up and speak to an agent in one of our call centers to be able to do this. So we've now introduced a feature which allows them to do this in the app. And we also introduced some promotional offers for some customers. And it's been really amazing to see how many people have interacted with this, and it's been cool to see the work that I've personally done have an actual impact on our customers. I would say in terms of top tips, I would say ask loads of questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. Get involved with any opportunities that you find that are interesting to you, especially when you're in university. There's so many things out there, and it's really good to get involved with these things, because opportunities are much more frequent while you're at uni, and you have a lot more time to get involved with things. And I would say also always be curious, always try and learn new things. Yeah, that's me.
Amazing, thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, so before, my name's Nathan. I'm one of the strategy analysts here. Sort of just like Stephanie did, give a brief overview of my journey to Capital One and some of the key parts of my job that I'm doing at the moment. So I went to the University of Nottingham. I studied economics and international economics there, and whilst I was there, I did a few extracurricular activities with some volunteering bits, but unlike Stephanie, I didn't do an internship, which I know is perhaps a journey that other people go through as well, that you then have to come to applying for these jobs and you don't actually have an internship under your belt. So yeah, just on that note, don't think that is a limiting factor in stopping you from getting onto any grad schemes, because yeah, whilst I found it a bit daunting to start with, I obviously ended up at Capital One, which I'm really happy about. And so yeah, after I left university, I went traveling for a year whilst applying for some grad schemes, and I ended up in Southeast Asia for about 6 months, which was amazing. And then yeah, well, on my return from that, I started at Capital One just over a year ago now. And to kind of break down what actually the strategy analyst role does, I'd probably say it's half data analysis and half like consulting, essentially. So you'll be given some kind of a problem that will involve breaking that down with with some data analysis, and that usually involves Snowflake or Python, which are the two languages that I code in. And we have loads and loads of customer data that we store for over in many different forms that basically have to work with and try and understand the absolute root of the problem. And then once we've understood what the actual problem is, it's coming up with a creative solution to solve that. So that then involves working with stakeholders, coming up with a solution that pleases all parties, and then presenting that presenting that back to those senior stakeholders. I can just give a quick overview of a couple of the key projects that I've worked on as well that I found particularly interesting. So what I've been doing recently is looking at the early life of customers and their journey. So when they open an account, basically went through and reviewed every single communication they get, what's on like the letter and the card that they receive, and trying to ensure that we're offering customers a journey that is actually most suited for them and tailored to their needs. So off the back of that, I've altered a few things, such as introducing some new communications that we thought would be really impactful that previously weren't sent out, and removing some different parts of the letters that go out to customers because we thought they weren't effective. And then just to sum up with sort of my top tips, I know Stephanie mentioned this, but I would say be curious and just asking questions. I think that is a really, really valuable skill, just to show that you're genuinely interested in what someone is saying or the work that you're doing. So yeah, just that is genuinely the biggest piece of advice I could give, is just be curious in everything that you're doing.
Cool, amazing. Thanks both. So we are just going to open up for a few questions to Stephanie and Nathan. I have seen a few come into the chat box and also the Q&A as well, so we can answer them from both if you are having some issues bringing them into the Q&A. So let me load some. So I have got a question for both of you. Stephanie, if you want to go first, how do you find working at Capital One so far? I know it's quite a broad question, but if you want to give a bit of an overview.
Yeah, sure. I really love working for Capital One. I think it's a really great place to work. I think everyone's really supportive. They want to see you do well. So it's a great place to start your career because there's just so many opportunities for learning and for growing. So yeah, I really, really enjoy working here.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I've just been very pleased with how nice everyone here is. I know you hear some horror stories of companies where everyone's just mean and horrible, but I think luckily we've all ended up at a good one here. That yeah, people are very genuine, willing to give up their time to help you, and I think that just made settling in really easy. And then just alongside that, actually being able to work on pieces that you find genuinely interesting. Obviously that helps if you're not interested in the work that you're doing. It can make your time there a lot less enjoyable. But yeah, I would just say the people have made it great.
Brilliant, thanks both. Next question that you both can answer as well, so we'll start with Nathan, is what does the typical day in the life look like as a graduate at Capital One?
Okay, I'll start with a very big cliche. I would say no one day is the same, but in really broad terms, it's probably about a third of my time is spent doing data analysis. So that'd be looking at different tables of customer data and coding and manipulating that to solve problems. Another third of that would be in meetings, whether it be discussing ideas with other graduates or listening to relevant pieces of work from other teams. and then where the final third would be actually like putting together presentations and then delivering those, and basically summarizing my learnings and findings in a concise and easily digestible format.
For me, also, every day is different. But I would say I spend some of my time in meetings, like discussing progress, planning what we might be coming on to next, making sure that everything is like properly planned. We call it refinement, where we like go in and make sure that we know exactly what's coming up, and then obviously doing some of the work. So writing code, writing logic for different things that like different features we're working on. Today, particularly, I've been writing some tests for the code to make sure that the code that we've written is able to interact with everything we need it to interact with properly. But yeah, there's so many different things to work on, and it's very varied, but always very interesting.
Brilliant, thanks. It is such a difficult question to answer because I know some days are so different to other days. But yeah, you will get a lot of variety in your work at Capital One. Cool. Next question is, how has Capital One supported your growth and development as early careers professionals? Stephanie, do you want to start this one?
Sure. So when I joined, I was designated a manager, a mentor, and a buddy. So the manager's for sort of like professional development, like making sure that I'm on track with my development. My mentor was there for sort of technical development to help make sure that I'm all set up for getting started with my job, and that I had the right tools to do my job. And then the buddy is a really nice one. It's sort of second year grad, someone who's done the same thing that you're doing sort of 1 or 2 years ago, to sort of answer any like more, not silly questions, because there's no such thing as a silly question, but things like, I don't know where the toilets are, or I don't know how to use the coffee machine, stuff like that. So immediately as I start, like, you're set up with these people to help you with your development and to help you succeed, and it's really nice. There's also, for the first sort of 3 or 4 weeks when you join, it's a pretty jam-packed schedule full of training and development opportunities. It really gives you a good starting point, and also gives you some good, like helps you develop your network and find some people that you know what they're doing and can give you some support if you need it.
Yeah, I can just jump on that quickly. I mean, I think Stephanie's covered basically all the main points there. But yeah, it's nice having different levels of support from sort of the more informal side of your buddy versus having your manager there to ask more job specific questions. That I think, yeah, there's a lot of support around you. And actually, I found I lent on a lot of my other graduates quite a lot. That, yeah, I spent quite a lot of time chatting with them, and obviously everyone else is going through the same thing at the same time. So it's nice to I guess use them as support as well, which, yeah, I really enjoyed.
Brilliant. And then we've got another question for Stephanie that's come in. So have you had any experience in tech prior to joining Capital One? Did you learn all these, and then in brackets, AWS, Java, so the tools that you talked through on the job, or have you had a good knowledge in the past of them?
Yeah, so I studied maths, so very non-technical. I did do a year in computer science, so I had like a couple of coding modules. So I had like a vague understanding about like what coding was, but I would say compared to like a lot of my peers, I didn't have like as strong of a knowledge as them. I would say when you join, like, it doesn't really matter where you start. I think very quickly everyone sort of comes up to the same place. the training that's provided is really good, and you can really sort of set your pace for how quickly you want to dive in. Like when you join, you'll probably start like spending time sort of shadowing other members of your team, seeing how they work, and it's sort of up to you when you're ready to start doing things a bit more independently. But yeah, especially with AWS, I'm sure I'd heard of AWS, but I didn't really know anything about it. I also found it quite scary when I started. Everyone kept talking about AWS, and I was like, I don't know what this is. This sounds scary. But I found out quite quickly that it actually wasn't that scary, and everyone was very sort of supportive to help me learn more about AWS. And yeah, even if you don't have the technical knowledge, you can definitely build that up.
Fab, thanks, Stephanie. And then one for Nathan, so how are the first few weeks working as a strategy analyst graduate? Is there something you found difficult, and is it more focused on sort of learning or networking in those first couple of weeks?
Yeah, so the first 2 weeks were all basically in person with training. We didn't actually start on any projects until a couple of weeks in, and it was mainly with just getting people up to speed with both their knowledge of the company, but also giving people a base knowledge of some core coding skills. Because whilst I sort of only use Python and Snowflake in my data analysis, well, alongside Excel as well, I didn't need to have any knowledge of that going into the job, and I didn't have any knowledge of it. So there's no expectation on you to have that going in, but it means that over the first couple of weeks you're given some time, and there's some special training on actually learning how to use each of these tools, and getting a bit proficient in Snowflake and Python. So I'd say that was the main focus of those first 2 weeks. Yeah, just getting that broader understanding and the core basics of the data analysis skills.
Brilliant, thanks, Nathan. Cool. I'm going to go on to the next session, section now of the session, but Stephanie and Nathan are going to try and respond to some of your questions in the chat box and the Q&A while I'm going through as well. And then we have got time at the end for another Q&A. So if anyone has got any more questions that we haven't got around to yet or haven't been answered in the session that I'm going to go through now, we will get back around to them. So I am going to come on to what roles we have available and the recruitment process. I have seen quite a few questions in the chat box around the recruitment process. So hopefully this will answer some of them for you. So if you are looking at our tech program, which Stephanie has talked through, we have got 3 different options. So it would depend on what your graduation year is. So if you are graduating in 2024 or have 2025, you can apply for our graduate role, which is based in Nottingham, and then you can see salaries on the screen as well. This is where you'll get rotations. So you will be able to try out 3 different teams within our tech teams to sort of see which areas you like the best, to then continue off into your career with us past that 2 years. If you're in your penultimate year, so looking to graduate in 2026, you'll be able to apply for our internship, which is 10 weeks over summer in our Nottingham office. And then for those that have got a sandwich or placement year as part of their course, you can look to do our 12-month placement programme as well. And then for our strategy analyst ones, we have also got the graduate option and then the internship option as well, both available in our Nottingham office. It is worth noting, so these roles are currently closed on the website, but will be going live again on Monday. So don't worry, you haven't missed out being able to apply. We have just had to take a quick pause, but they will be going live on Monday. So please do apply then. And then Nathan and Stephanie have talked to quite a lot around their experience. So definitely one thing you'll be able to benefit from is the development opportunities. So these are both professional and personal development. So things that you'll need to actually do your role. So like they both mentioned, the technical skills that you're going to need to do, but then also personal things like how do you work with key stakeholders, teamwork, communication skills will give you all that up to support in your sort of getting set up for success in your role. We do have something called GradCom, which is our graduate community who set up all of like the fun stuff. We know sometimes coming from university into like a corporate life, it may be quite a difficult transition, so we want to make that as smooth as possible for you. And we're not just about the job and sort of the work that you'll be doing, it is around that whole sort of community and the experience you have with us as well. So you will get invited to social events that are held by GradCom. Some of these could be things like laser tag, donut decorating. There's quite a few different ones. And then within your roles, you will get to work on real business projects. We don't give any of our early careers associates like fake work to practice on. Everything that you will do is real work, and you will be able to see that tangible output of your work affecting our customers. So I know like Stephanie talked through that balance transfer, that she can actually see customers be able to use and improving their experience, which I think is really cool. And then you have a whole support network set in place to support you when you're enrolled with us. So you have a manager who is there for your development, a mentor who is there for your sort of technical support, so actually the skills that you'll need to be able to do your job, and then a buddy as well who is most likely going to be sort of like a second year grad, so they've been there, done that, they know all sort of the initial nerves or concerns that you might have, or sort of some of the sillier questions that you might not want to ask your manager. And then you have got your whole cohort that you've joined with as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people who are there to ask questions to, meet up with, just have that whole support with as well. And then if you are looking to apply but want to know what to expect and sort of what we're looking for in the recruitment process, these are the key skills. So for tech, you're going to need to have some baseline coding skills. It is a technical role, so you will need to code in it. Problem solving, you may have quite a few problems that come up, and we want people who come up with different ways of solving those problems and be able to create a plan to get that sorted as well. Fast learning as well, so you may get thrown into different tech teams that you don't have any experience of their tech stack or the languages. We will teach that to you, but we do need people who have got the aptitude to be able to pick that up quite quickly. And then communication and stakeholder management. So we'll be working across loads of different teams, sometimes tech teams, sometimes our product management teams. So we need people who can work sort of really collaboratively and be able to make sort of meaningful impacts as well within those teams that they're working in. And then for the strategy analyst ones, so problem solving, again, is going to be a really key one. A lot of what the strategy analysts do is looking at problems and seeing how we can solve them in the best way for our customers and the business, and putting forward those recommendations. Analysis, so Nathan talked through a lot of the data analysis that he does within his role. So you are going to need to have a level of sort of data analysis skills, that sort of quantitative ability coming into the process. And then judgment, when putting forward recommendations and sort of what we should do with our business once you have looked through the data, is making sure that you have weighed up all the different impacts that it could, well, so everything that could be impactful within that decision, making sure it is sort of the best course of action that we should do. And then same as in the tech one, we are a very collaborative business, so you will need to have communication and stakeholder management skills. And then this is the process. So you can see that along the top is the strategy analyst process, and then along the bottom is the tech one. I will walk through each stage in a little bit more detail, but that is sort of the overall process that you'll be expecting for the roles. So the first step is to actually apply. It's a super simple application. We don't need any CV or cover letter. The application itself doesn't have any essay questions. It's just going to ask about like your contact details. We actually get in contact with you, your graduation year, and your right to work. It is worth noting that if you are on a student or graduate visa, you can apply, and we will be able to put you onto the skilled worker visa. We don't have any minimum grade or degree requirements as well, so we don't actually look at what you're studying or what grade you've previously got. We also don't look at your previous experience. So I know Stephanie did an internship, but Nathan didn't do an internship. We don't actually look at that, so don't feel like you can't apply because you've not been able to do things previously. Everything that we're going to look at is what you show us in the recruitment process from your assessments and your interviews. When you apply, you will then get sent our online assessments. So for tech, it is a coding assessment, and then also situational strengths assessment. And for strategy, it's a verbal and numerical reasoning assessment, and then also the situational strengths assessment. Maximum time that you're going to need to complete it is about an hour and a half. So just make sure you do put aside that time, let everyone else in the house know that you're doing an assessment, so no one's going to come in and sort of interrupt your flow with it. We will send out practice assessments for each of those assessments, so you know exactly what the questions are going to look like, how to answer them, and what that environment looks like for it. So I would definitely say, please do practice. We're going to give you that to you, so I think it'd be silly not to practice those. Next up is the video interview. So both the strategy and the tech program are going to be motivation questions. And then for tech, there's a couple of competency-based questions, which are looking at your soft skills, such as like communication and team working skills. And then for strategy, there's a couple of case studies where we're going to want to see your data and math skills and how you then sort of talk us through your thought process and your reasonings with that as well. For the one-way video interview, you will get preparation time for each answer. So again, do use that to the best of your ability. And we're not assessing your confidence when answering these questions. It is your communication skills and the content of what you're actually delivering to us. Make sure to research Capital One. So I know I've gone through quite a lot of information in the beginning of this webinar that could help when you're sort of talking through why you want to apply for Capital One, but please do a little bit more research and align that to your own interests. If you are talking through any competency style questions, for example, the tech ones, the STAR technique is a good way to frame your answers. So you could talk through the situation, the task you were given, your personal action, not just sort of what the team did, and then any results as well from that situation. And then you do only get one chance to record your answer. So do make sure you have used that preparation time to know what you're going to talk through. The next stage is, this one is where it does sort of separate depending on what you've applied to. So for strategy, if you pass the video interview, you'll get invited to a virtual case study with one of our strategy analysts, which is giving you like a real case business problem to work through and talk through your judgments with them. If you've passed that, you'll then get invited to our virtual assessment day, which is a combination of a group exercise and a product interview. And then for tech, we have got the virtual assessment day as well, which is a presentation, a strengths interview, and a pair programming interview. The strengths interview is looking at how you would react to workplace scenarios. So we'll give you some sort of hypothetical ones that you might find yourself in enroll with us. And we're looking to see what you would do in those scenarios and why you would do it. And then the pair programming interview is the more technical interview where we give you a coding challenge to see how you work through that. And then if you have passed those stages, you'll get invited to a final interview. So for strategy, this is the opportunity to meet with one of our senior directors to do a final case study and then also a strengths interview with them. And this is done in person, so you will be able to come and have a look at our office as well. And then for tech, it's with one of our senior engineering managers and does take more of a form of a motivational interview to talk through your sort of like career aspirations, again, why you applied to Capital One, and a good chance for you to quiz someone senior in our business about their experience of working at Capital One. So this is probably the most important slide, I would say, out of the recruitment process slides. If you take away anything from this session, please be these two things. So definitely make sure you research Capital One, our programs, to make sure that it is something that you're wanting to apply to and you've got the right skills. But also so you know why you want to apply when you're talking through your motivational questions. And then practice. So each stage that we'll invite you to, we'll send you out practice links for assessments. We'll let you know what the different questions are going to be like for any interviews. We also hold like case study workshops or recruitment drop-in sessions, so you can sort of practice as much as possible. So please do that. And so yeah, I would say this is definitely the most important slide out of the whole recruitment one to set you up for success. Amazing. So I know we've had quite a lot of questions that have come into the chat box. So I'm going to open it back out to questions if anyone had anything else they wanted to ask myself on recruitment or Stephanie and Nathan. So I'm just going to go through where we've got new ones coming in. So bear with me 1 second. Perfect. I'm going to do the ones that are in the chat box first. We didn't come to those ones before. So we've got a question for Stephanie. So Capital One has been migrating its on-prem data to AWS this year, which is a significant transformation. What were some of the biggest challenges your team faced during this migration, and how did working on the project help you grow as a graduate?
Unfortunately, my team hasn't actually worked on the cloud migrations. All of the services that we have were already in the cloud, so I haven't actually worked on this. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Emma, I can always, if you want to drop us an email, I can get another graduate who has been within the cloud team to sort of give you like a bit of a follow-up to that question. Where we have the rotations, some of our graduates are able to work in that cloud team if they've chosen that as part of their rotation. I know Stephanie is just coming to her second rotation, so maybe as part of her third one, she'll be able to work in the cloud team. But yeah, we can definitely follow up with a bit more information on that one for you. And then I think there's another one for Stephanie around programming. So how much programming do you need when you first apply to the job? And how much support do you get from Capital One when it comes to developing your programming skills?
Yeah, so there is like a programming component to the assessment process. I think there's a programming HackerRank style test, and then there's also a pair programming interview with an engineer that works at Capital One. But aside from that, like, you don't need to be like a genius programmer. Like, it's very much just sort of simple programming skills, like low level intermediate skills, because everything that you need to use from day to day like can be taught to you when you join. There's so many opportunities to learn. Like, you can get involved, like we have like Udemy subscriptions that you can like learn on that, or you can learn by doing. You can we do like training delivered. Like, I personally did some training for the new grads that have just started on Java. There's so many different opportunities to learn, and it's really about finding which one works for you. But yeah, you don't need to be a programming whiz to join.
Thanks, Stephanie. And then next one, I'll go to Nathan. So what does the training process look like in Capital One for new starters, not just on the technical side, but as a whole? Do you want to talk through sort of like how like your onboarding process was when you first joined us?
Yeah, sure. So the first few days were up in Nottingham with all of the grads together. That was some really high level overview of actually like the key processes of the company and how basically what Capital One does, just in more depth than what Richenda went through earlier, but a very similar thing then. And then there's lots of introduction sessions to each team. So you're each put in a team, and there's one of 8, and then you rotate through about once every year to year and a half. So you get a good idea of each of the teams and the different roles that are there within that. So it's lots of overviews of different aspects of the company and how that works. And then there's more formal trainings, which are the technical skills, such as the coding, but also things such as problem solving skills, presentation skills, and building up some of those softer aspects as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nathan. And then one for you both as well. So what do you think has been the most significant skill you have gained through the programme, and how does the team you have joined contribute to that? Nathan, if you want to start, because I know you're still off mute.
Yeah, sure. Ooh, that's a good question. I think problem solving has probably been one of the biggest skills. I think that's something that's quite hard to teach in general, but I think having the ability to receive a really difficult, quite broad problem and then break that down into really manageable, actionable steps you can then work through to deliver a good outcome. I'd say that is probably the biggest skill that, well, I say I've learned, I'm still learning. I don't think you can ever fully be perfect at that. But yeah, and I guess the follow-up question of sort of how my team has helped me be through that is, yeah, I've just had a lot of time talking with my colleagues about that. We often solve these things as pairs or in wider groups. So actually seeing how other people break down these problems and think about these things has allowed me to sort of see how other people do it and then apply that thinking to my own and go from there.
Yeah.
For me, I would say it's communication. I've had so many opportunities to sort of develop my communication skills in the team I'm in. I speak to on a daily basis so many different people, from quality engineers to product managers to sort of more senior managers, like everyone sort of coming together to sort of make decisions on different things. I've like had the opportunity to like lead some of these discussions and stuff, and it's really helped with my communication skills. I'm also always presenting things like in my team. We have like a few different teams, like 3 or 4 teams that work together, and every 2 weeks we'll do like we'll meet up and discuss what we've done over the last 2 weeks. So I've presented in that, which has been great. And then obviously outside of my teamwork, I'm here today. Like this is really helping with my communications skills and presenting. There's so many opportunities to sort of improve sort of any skill that you feel like you're lacking in. You can find the opportunity to improve on that.
Brilliant. Thanks, both. Another question for both of you, if Stephanie, you want to start off. So what experience or activity during your early stage in Capital One made you realise you both love your job and working environment Capital One has?
Yeah, I can go first on this one. I'd say probably some of the ownership that I got quite early on, the ability to actually own specific pieces of work and the sort of, I guess, the trust that senior stakeholders have on the new graduates to actually bring genuine change through. Whether obviously it's you grow in that responsibility as your time goes on, but some new graduates are altering new emails that we're sending out or changing the products that we're offering to customers, that they're doing things that have a genuine impact and they're actually starting on those projects right away, which I think that really told me that, okay, from what I understand of speaking to other people at other companies, that you're perhaps not given as much exposure to actual work that early on. And that's something that I found really good.
Yeah, I would say something sort of similar to that. Like, I was only a few weeks in when I got to start like writing my own pieces of code, and like I sort of probably didn't have as much trust in myself as the other people around me, and like the people in my team did, and like they sort of pushed me towards doing it, and like I was able to do some really cool things really early on that I maybe didn't even believe in myself that I could do. But yeah, everyone's very supportive and like really wants to see you do well, and they will push you to do things when they know that you can do it, even if you don't believe in yourself as much.
Brilliant. Another question for both of you as well. So what was the strongest factor motivating you to apply to Capital One in the first place? And now you've made it, how have your expectations aligned with the role overall? Nathan, if you want to start with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest with this one. I think when I was applying for grad schemes, I think people rarely have the fortune to be unbelievably picky and only pick 1 or 2 companies that they absolutely love. And the thing is, you don't know that much about these companies. This is why sessions like this are great. But when I was going through the rounds at Capital One, I think just the interactions that I had with the people and everyone that I spoke to just seemed genuinely lovely. I think that was one of the things that made me most sort of excited about the prospect of working here. And as I alluded to earlier, that was definitely that expectation was met when I joined, with the people that I've met so far, with everyone being so lovely. So I would say that was the big driver for me.
Brilliant, thank you. There was another question for Nathan as well. So from a strategic perspective, how would you see AI and machine learning driving Capital One's product innovation and long-term customer experience goals? I'm not sure if you comment on that at all.
Yeah, sure. I think that's something that everyone's talking about at the moment. And whilst I'm not at the sort of the heart of deciding that, I know that's something that we are seriously considering. So we have almost the benefit of having the American enterprise, and they obviously have a lot more resource to invest in AI and machine learning aspects. So I know that's something that they're focusing on a lot over there. I imagine when they found things that actually are working really well, we'll be able to pick up the pieces over in the UK, and actually we'll get almost the better side of it, because I imagine there'll be some things that don't work as well in the US that won't make its way over here. But then when they have things that begin working a bit better, they'll send that over here, and yeah, we'll be able to work with that.
Brilliant, thank you. I know it's a very hot topic at the moment towards sort of anyone asking about AI at the moment. Cool. So we have a couple other questions before we wrap up. If we've not managed to get to your question, we will be getting sent over the list of all the questions we can follow up for you. So one saying, has the Strategy Analyst graduate program opened? I don't see it on the website. So it has been closed momentarily. It will be opening again on Monday. So I believe it's Monday the 14th. If you were interested in the Strategy Analyst one, please do apply during that week. And then we had another question around the product management one, which has unfortunately closed already due to that being a bit of a smaller program. We've had a lot of applications for it as well. So it's just the tech and the strategy ones available now. Another question in terms of how will the coding assessment be for the tech role? So it is used a program called CodeSignal. So you'll be able to do some practice tests via CodeSignal to sort of see what it looks like, what the different questions are. So I would definitely recommend having a look there as well. And then I think one other question, so what skills do you think would be required for the strategy grad scheme? More like numerical or data analyst skills, qualitative skills like research, leadership, collaboration, teamwork, etc.? Nathan, do you want to cover that one?
Yeah, so I think obviously all of those skills are great to have, but in terms of, I guess, the balance between soft skills and hard skills, I would say the general approach is that we think we can teach you the hard skills. We can teach you how to code, we teach you how to make a nice fancy deck. That's not necessarily what's being looked at. It's more some of those soft skills, the way in which you're thinking about problems, how effective you are at communicating, the way you're breaking those down. And yeah, so I'd say that balance of soft skills is a bit greater, and just understanding the way that you think, as opposed to then doing having a lot of data analysis skills, which obviously are great but aren't as necessary.
Brilliant, thank you. So that is it for time in terms of the questions, but if there was anything that we haven't managed to get around to, we'll be able to follow up with you. So just going to hand back to Fern to close off the session now.
Amazing. I just wanted to kind of come on and do a quick sort of thank you to everyone who has registered and attended today. And just a final huge thank you to Stephanie, Nathan, Rashenda and Rebecca, all for joining. We really hope you found it insightful and engaging today. In terms of the competition that we have been running throughout the webinar, we are going to be kind of reviewing all the questions that have been asked during this session. And kind of look at as well who has kind of taken part and who has attended, and we will kind of be getting back to you over the next few days, probably via email, so keep an eye out on your emails. But yeah, just a final thank you to everyone, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Amazing. Thanks so much for coming. Bye.